On the 13th of August every year, I like to go to the Shrine of Remembrance in Melbourne. I went there because it's the anniversary of my great great uncle's death in the First World War. He was killed in action on the 13th of August 1918, only 5 days after the great victory at Amiens, which he participated in, a victory the German General Ludendorff called the Black Day of the German Army. From this point until the end of the war, only 3 months away, the Allies were constantly on the offensive, but my great-great-uncle, Vernon Cyril Dawson, was killed on an otherwise quiet day as the armies prepared for further attacks. But I'll come back to Private Dawson. The Melbourne Shrine of Remembrance is such an improbable thing, an ancient Greek temple built in a city that was only settled in the 1830s. It was built as a memorial to the 19,000 Victorians who died serving king, country and empire during the First World War. It was financed by both public subscription and government money. It was started in 1927 and finished in 1934 when 250,000 people were there to see its dedication. Not bad when you consider that the population of Victoria was around 2 million. To the glory of service and sacrifice, this shrine was dedicated by His Royal Highness the Duke of Gloucester, 11th November 1934. Inside, in the centre of the shrine, is a stone upon which is engraved, "Greater love has no man," and around which a service is performed regularly. Along the inside wall are memorial books with the names of those who died in beautiful cursive script. You can request, as I do, that the book be turned to a specific page. The attendants are very helpful, and on the page, with Vernon Cyril Dawson's name, it's written in military fashion, surname first, then initials. So there in the book it reads, Dawson, VC. VC are the initials holders of the Victoria Cross can put after their name, the Victoria Cross being the highest award for valour in the British Empire, and which many of those countries continue to award when warranted. Private Dawson was not awarded the Victoria Cross. His medals were more modest, the British War Medal 1914-20 and the Victory Medal. But I know a bit more about him. I know that he was born in 1890 in a small town in country Victoria named Castillas, near Omeo in what's known as the High Country. I've gone there and I found an area that looked like it has always been farmland and bush. But when Vernon was there were around 1,000 people. A town that extracted gold, and the old photos showed large factory-like buildings that were used to process the gold. The people lived in shanties, bark and wooden houses that have long since disappeared. In fact, there were only 2 solid buildings in the entire town, one of which remains. The other was moved to a nearby town. Vernon was the youngest of 12 children, 3 girls and 9 boys, although one girl died the year of her birth and one of the boys died at the age of 2. His oldest sister was 23 when Vernon was born. His enlistment papers tell us that he was 5'11" and 174 pounds with blue eyes and brown hair, and that he worked in the mine. He enlisted in October 1916 and left Australia in November. He served with the 6th Light Trench Mortar Battery until his death in August 1918. Mortarmen, like machine gunners and flamethrower operators, were some of the most hated men during the First World War. Flamethrowers, I think you can work out why soldiers hated them. Machine guns killed a lot of men, and it was hard to fight against them. But mortars could do something that no other weapon could do. They could fire explosives directly into trenches. The reason the trenches existed was because they was the safest way to avoid enemy attack. But because of the trajectory that mortars fire on, mortar shells can land inside a trench, something artillery shells seldom did. Just to make them that little worse, they were hard to hear, so there was little defence against them. In 1917, the gold mine in Castillas closed down and the town died. There are now less than 100 people living there. There are farms, a winery, and some artists live there. Some of Vernon's family stayed, but mine moved to Melbourne. The life that he had known before the war wouldn't have been there if he had lived. I'm sure he would have got on with life, but of course we can never know. He now lies in Heath Cemetery, near Habions, France, just south of the Somme River and to the east of Amiens. lest we forget.